Hi YouTube, Tim Unkert here. In this video, I'm going to cover adding, subtracting, and multiplying complex numbers. So let's get to it. Let's look at problem number one. We're adding the complex number 3 plus 2i plus 4 plus 5i. So we're going to treat the parts with I, the imaginary parts, as their own kind of thing, and we're going to treat the real parts as their own kind of thing, and we'll add those together. So let me just color code this a little bit. So we're going to add the 3 and the 4. We add those together, we get 12. And then we're going to add the 2i and the 5i to get just plus 7i. Okay, let's look at this next one. We have negative 5 minus I plus 6 plus 3i. So again, we're going to add the real parts here. Negative 5 plus 6, that gives you 1. And then we have plus. And then we want to add, let's use a different color here, add the imaginary part. So this is like a plus negative 1i. This is plus 3i. So 3i plus negative 1i is 2i. So we get 1 plus 2i. And that's all there is to adding. So let's move to subtracting. Okay, so let's look at this first one. We have 10 plus 2i minus 5 plus 2i. So we're going to subtract the real part. So 10 minus 5 is 5. Okay, and then we do 2i minus 2i is plus 0i, or you can just write it as 5. Now, you should note here that 5 can be written as 5 plus 0i, so the real number 5 is a complex number. Okay, so either of these would be the difference of this problem here, or this expression. All right, so let's simplify this expression. We have 5 minus I minus 14 minus 2i. So first off, we're going to do 5 minus 14. That's going to give us a negative 9. And then we've got to do the imaginary part. So we have negative 1i, and we're taking away a negative 2i. So negative 1, and if we subtract negative 2 from that, it's like adding positive 2. So we get to positive 1, and this is going to be a positive 1i, which I can just write as plus I. Okay, so that's subtracting. All right, let's take a look at multiplication. Okay, so in this next one here, we have 8 plus 2i times 4 plus 3i. So one way we can do this is with FOIL. So we can multiply 8 times 4, first terms together, 8 times 4. That's going to be 32. Then we're going to do the outer terms. So 8 times 3i. And that's going to give us 24i. We'll then do the inner terms, 2i times 4. And we'll get 8i. And then we're going to do the last terms, and this is going to be interesting. So we're going to do 2i, the last terms, 2i times 3i. That's going to give us 6i squared. Now remember from a previous video that I did, which was powers of complex numbers, I squared is negative 1. So this is like 6 times negative 1. So this is negative 6. Okay, so now this becomes a real number. So we're going to combine our real numbers, which are 32 and negative 6, and that's going to give us 26. And then we're going to combine our imaginary parts, so 24i plus 8i, That's going to give us 32i. Okay, so that's that one. All right, so let's look at this next one. I'm going to do FOIL again. So first terms, let's multiply together. 4 times 5. That's going to give me 20. Then we'll do the outer terms. Let's maybe try and color code this. So 4 times minus 2i. That's going to be a negative 8i. Okay. Then let's do the inner term. So 3i times 5. And that's going to give us 15i. And then let's do the last terms here. So we'll do 3i times minus 2i. Minus 2i. So that's going to be a minus 6i squared. But remember, I squared is negative 1, so negative 6 times negative 1 is just positive 6. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we got to add our real parts together. So 20, I want to change the color there. 20 here, plus 6. Here we get 26. And then plus, now we'll combine our imaginary parts together. Let's do it in this color. So minus 8i plus 15i gives me plus 7i. Okay, so that's the FOIL way of doing it. You could also multiply with double distribution. Let's look at a few more problems where we do that. Okay, and these are kind of specific ones. You'll see this is kind of interesting how this works out. All right, so we're going to do double distribution, meaning I'm going to break apart this first part. So I'm going to do 4 times 4 minus 4i plus 4i times 4 minus 4i. And we'll use distribution, so we'll do 4 times 4, we get 16. Then 4 times 4i, we have a minus here, because the minus is here. 4 times 4i is 16i. And then we do 4i times 4, so that's plus 16i. And then we're going to do 4i, well, we have a minus. 4i times 4i is 16i squared. And remember, I squared is negative 1, so we have minus 16 here. So note something here. The imaginary parts will cancel out with these type of problems. And we'll be left with just 16. And we change this. Subtracting a negative is like adding a positive. So 16 plus 16, we get 32 for this one. All right, let's look at this last one. We're going to do our double distribution. So we'll do 3 times 3 plus 2i. And maybe you see a pattern with this, and maybe you want to comment about it down below, or maybe not. But if you do, comment below. And then we got minus 2i times 3 plus 2i. And we do 3 times 3, which is 9. Do 3 times 2i, which is plus 6i. And then we have minus 2i times 3, so we have plus minus 2i times 3 is minus 6i. And then minus 2i times 2i is minus 2i squared. Remember, I squared is negative 1, so it's going to be, sorry, minus 4i squared. I squared is negative 1, so it's going to be plus 4. Okay? And the imaginary parts, again, are going to cancel out. So these 6 i's cancel out. We get 9 plus 4, which is just 13 for this particular one. So hopefully you noticed that pattern. If you did, comment down below. Also like the video if you liked it and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hope to see you in the next one. Have a great day.